All right, so we're going to break down a pilot's incredible first-hand account from one of the most remote places on Earth. He captured something on camera that seems to completely tear up our rulebook on physics. Let's just dive right in.
So, imagine hearing this crackle over the radio. These are the very first words spoken at the exact moment a totally normal flight becomes a lifelong mystery. It's such a simple sentence, but it's packed with so much confusion and alarm.
Okay, so to really grasp just how wild this whole thing gets, we first have to understand how totally ordinary the day started out.
Now, the pilot at the heart of this story isn't some rookie. He's a seasoned paramotor pilot. For him, this was just another Tuesday. Just another day doing what he loves, a simple, routine flight over some familiar, rugged landscape.
And you gotta picture the scene here. We're talking about Ranikot, home to the largest fort in the entire world. The flight plan was completely by the book. He takes off, cruises along this massive, ancient 32-kilometer wall, and then climbs to a safe altitude to head into the valley. Everything was calm. Everything was recorded. Completely normal.
And then, boom, in a heartbeat, the routine was shattered. Let's take a look at exactly what happened next.
That right there, that's the full message he sends to his buddies on the ground. You can just feel the shock in those words. His first thought is a logical one, but it's drenched in fear. It's gotta be a drone. Out here, in the middle of nowhere, a drone is a serious collision hazard, and his mind immediately jumps to the worst-case scenario.
So, once the initial shock wears off a little, what do? They try to find a normal explanation, right? To calm his nerves, they all agree on the most likely culprit you'd find in a remote valley. It had to have been a bird.
So he lands safe and sound, but that question, it just wouldn't go away. The glimpse he got was just too fast, too weird. He couldn't shake this feeling that what he saw was definitely not a bird. And thankfully, he had 2 cameras rolling the entire flight. He knew the answer had to be in that footage. And this is where things get really interesting. This isn't just about a spooky sighting anymore. It's about a full-on, meticulous investigation. He wasn't gonna guess. He was gonna use the data.
I mean, look at how he broke this down. It was super systematic. He didn't just rewatch the video. No, he slowed his high-res footage way down, going through it frame by painstaking frame. Then he used Google Earth to pinpoint its exact position, which is the key to figuring out its speed.
And that frame-by-frame analysis, well, it uncovered something just mind-boggling. In the span of a single video frame, the object traveled a distance he could actually map out and measure. And that distance was 120 meters.
Okay, so 120 meters. But in how much time? This is the crazy part. His camera shoots at 30 frames per second. That means the time between one frame and the next is just 33 thousandths of a second. I mean, that is an unbelievably tiny slice of time.
So, you've got the distance, you've got the time, 120 meters in just 33 thousandths of a second? The question is, how fast is that, really?
When you run the numbers, it comes out to an insane 3,600 meters per second. Let me say that again, 3.6 kilometers every single second. To put it another way, that's Mach 10.5, over 10 times the speed of sound.
Let's try to wrap our heads around that speed for a second. A 747 airliner that's cruising around 277 meters per second. The legendary SR-71 Blackbird, the fastest jet we've ever built, it topped out around 1,200. This thing was moving 3 times faster than our most advanced aircraft ever. You'd think the speed would be the craziest part of this story, right? Nope. As the pilot kept digging through his footage, he found something even more baffling.
And get this, he found a second pass in the footage, one he never even saw with his own eyes. A few seconds after the first sighting, while he was still on the radio, the object zipped by again, this time much, much closer. It was moving so fast, it was literally invisible to the human eye, only showing up as a white streak across 3 frames of video.
Okay, this is where we just throw the physics textbooks out the window. Anything moving at Mach 10 should create a deafening, dangerous sonic boom. It should create enough turbulence to just rip a paramotor to shreds. But what did the pilot experience? Absolutely nothing. Complete silence. His glider was perfectly stable. No sound, no sonic boom, no wake, nothing.
So you can see why the pilot himself was left with this question.
He's got an object on camera moving at an impossible speed, but showing zero of the physical effects that should be there. It's a total, complete contradiction of everything we know.
Now you might be thinking, okay, that's one heck of a story, but it's just one guy, right? Well, that's what he thought too, until he started digging.
And suddenly you see a pattern. It's not just him. A drone in Utah captures an object also calculated at Mach 10. Another one in the UK catches a similar white streak. And all of this sounds eerily similar to the famous 2004 Nimitz encounter, where top US Navy pilots described a white, Tic Tac object doing impossible things. The similarities? They're just undeniable.
And look, this isn't just hobbyists and drone footage anymore. Even the Pentagon is seeing this stuff. Their own official group for investigating these things, AARO, reported 21 UAP cases between 2023 and 2024 that their own experts simply cannot explain, citing speeds and movements that just seem otherworldly.
So after putting it all together, his own rock-solid analysis, and all these other reports from credible sources, the pilot came to a pretty firm conclusion. What he saw wasn't the trick of the light, it wasn't a delusion, it was a real, physical object caught on camera doing things that our technology, as we understand it, simply cannot do.
And so that leaves all of us with a big, lingering question. The evidence just doesn't give us an easy answer. It forces us to question our basic assumptions about what's possible, and it suggests there are things in our skies that we not only can't build, but that we can't even begin to understand. So I'll leave you with this. What do you think it was?